Now, what we see today is the bringing back of racism through the back door, through the collaboration of this deal. The deal that is called Government of National Unity is not Government of National Unity. This is just the ANC-DA deal. It's as simple as that. And the DA, and that's why in one of my public address, when I was addressing our 103 anniversary of the Communist Party, I thanked Ms. Helen Zille for telling the truth. Because she has been, we learned more from what she was saying than what our own comrades were telling us.
You've spoken about how the SACP wasn't actually consulted on this deal as well. Is that true? And are these debates within the alliance happening? Because, of course, on the surface, it seems like everyone is happy with this coalition arrangement. But to what extent do you think there is actual dissent within the alliance? Firstly,
there was no consultation on this thing. And it's very important you raise this question because an impression has been created that we agreed to this deal. No, we did not agree to this thing. We had proposals. In fact, if any engagement that took place would have been about our first positions, the day after elections, we met as the Alliance Secretariat, which was for the first time physical, because the ANC has been reluctant to see us physically, so that we can confront one another. We met, we propose from different perspectives. The Communist Party proposes a minority government option, because the ANC has created a framework of 4 options. Re-election as one of them. Minority government, grand coalition, government of national unity. And we said, opt for minority government is the best option. Actually, the reason we said that, we gave a political reason for it, is that it will free the ANC from any obligations it might have or still has to capital, which capital has entered the political space openly for the first time in these recent elections.
By funding.
By funding and also coming out much more strongly to say the ANC must leave. Even creating lies about the ANC. Now we said, whatever obligations we have to capital, they have ended. They were ended by capital. We don't know those obligations. But at least capital ended those obligations with the ANC. We said, you are now free. You can no longer have excuses why you can't do right to the people of this country, why there can't be class transfer of power, why there can't be radical change of the state of the economy, why can't we deal with the structure of the economy. There could be no more excuse. The same posture was supported by COSATU, or the minority option was also supported by COSATU. So the ANC came with this. In that meeting, comrades from SANCO arrived late. Because this meeting was organized quickly. But one of their comrades came, he participated, he's one of the support teams. He was there during this debate. And we put our options openly. Then the ANC had brought there a document, this so-called statement of intent, that they read to us. We said, okay, so you have already been involved in crafting this thing. Give us the copy so we can go through it and make comments. They agreed.
Right.
The whole week goes, they don't give us this copy. We are looking for it.
A week?
Yes. Ultimately, they give us the copy the following week. That following week.
So this thing had been around for quite a while then.
Yeah. They had it. So they had it for some time because it was already, the SG was reading it from his iPad.
Wow.
Yeah, it was reading word by word, reading in that meeting. We said, no. We want to see what you are reading. We don't want to buy something that we can't feel its true content. We want to analyze it and make comments. Of course, they agreed to this particular process. We made comments. When they finally made the deal with the DA, our comments are not integrated. Not once. Not even a single word is integrated of our comments. They go ahead and sign this thing. So our consultation was petty. We will formally say we had a meeting with the alliance and therefore the alliance has been consulted. No, we have not been consulted. So there's been no consultation.
Sure.
What it's important to also clarify, because, and I clarified this in this show, Sizwe, because they've also spoken lies about this thing. When we met with the ANC, very first day, Monday after the announcement of the elections result,
right,
we said to the ANC that immediate task of the revolution today is to secure the liberation forces to keep the political power. In other words, to secure the presidency under the leadership of the ANC. Because in any case, we still had more votes than any other party. We had the legitimacy, so to speak, to set up government. But the Moonshot Pact, funded by imperialist forces, European Solidarity Council, as well as the Brandhurst Foundation that coordinated this Moonshot Pact, they had a plan B in which if they fail to remove the ANC from power, they will collaborate with it. The ANC accept this thing, just with no resistance. And what worried us was, how is it possible that a liberation movement behave in this form?
Do you think there should be some kind of leadership accountability, and do you think there should be consequences for the decision that has been taken
by the ANC? Well, the ANC must decide, but to the extent that in the alliance we are treated this way, yes, there should be consequences. But what consequences, Sizwe? Because the framework of the alliance accords the ANC a rare privilege to lead all of us. But this rare privilege has been abused on a daily basis. It's been undermined. And to the extent that many things that are happening could have happened before, that is practical interventions to respond to the needs of our society and so forth. It's not because there's been lack of ideas. And some of them try to create an impression that there's been lack of ideas. They're talking absolute nonsense. There's never been lack of ideas about alternatives to the situation facing our country. The issue is that the political leadership accepted to be the spokespersons of neoliberalism. They are addicts of neoliberalism. That is why, in fact, neoliberalism is an economic policy of capitalism. So it's a modern capitalism that seeks to take away public economy into private hands, into private economy. Then it seeks to transform or to enhance the capacity of corporations against the states. But in this case, we have a movement that is so fractious, factionalized. So it's battle of factions. I'm not interested in the battles of factions. I don't want to belong to any faction. I don't belong to none of these factions. That is why some of them are uncomfortable with me. And that's why I rejected nomination to the ANC NEC at conference on 2 occasions. Because I wanted to express my independence at any point in time on behalf of the party that I'm leading. Not to go and be a supporter of factions. Whatever the faction decide, this is the way we even have to justify it in public. Like this justification of this government of national unity. They even create a new theory that the people voted this way. That's a lie. The people never voted for government of national unity.
Absolutely.
The people voted, the government of national unity is a political choice. And they mustn't run away from that political choice. It's actually an ideological choice of the bourgeoisie. This is the choice that they've taken. And this it strains the relations in the alliance. There's no doubt about that. The dominant faction in the ANC, the neoliberal faction, which is the president's faction, because that's how it carries itself out and is supported by the president. It may not be named. I'm naming it for all I care. It's a neoliberal faction, centralized in the economic policies driven by the national treasury, defended by the presidency, and dominant in the ANC, NEC, and in ANC provinces. So it effectively says that the ANC is shifting. In fact, I've said once that the ANC that we're in alliance with is not the same as the one we're working with. Because the one we're working with follows one economic trajectory, one ideology of capital, the most arrogant and reckless one, free market neoliberal capitalist economy. That's what they're following. That's not the one that we're in alliance with. The ANC leaders are quick to say, the ANC is not a capitalist organization, but they don't further affirm that it's neither a socialist organization. They say the ANC is not a socialist organization, but they never say it's neither a capitalist organization too. That's why its primary economic policy is a mixed economic system. It embraces the best elements found in all of these two institutions. But they've been following one monolithic ideology of capitalism, and they don't want criticism. And if you say so, they say no, because they take their ideas from Davos, which is a capitalist think tank association of all CEOs of the world and so forth. And the governments here, they think if they go to Davos, they've arrived. They're too excited. Now, that's one big issue, Sizwe, I have about South African revolutionaries. They get too easily excited. And this is the thing that I'm not impressed with. They get too excited by power, by basic small things, by privileges, and so forth.
On Comrade Mapaila, the question of labeling does not assist a political discussion and engagement. And to that extent, even in our tweets, we have been very much circumspect and making a point that if we play to the gallery and differ like not allies and differ like opponents and enemies, it can't be correct because all what has happened on the 29th of May have visited the ANC-led tripartite alliance, and the National Democratic Revolution have suffered a fundamental setback, which we need to come back from victorious at some point. So to characterize each other in terms of labels, we believe it doesn't help because labels end up being labels, because we can come back and say you are this and that, you are ultra-left, you are this and that. It does not help, right? Insurrectionary phrase-mongering does not help the cause of revolution. The Communist Party is a very respected ally of the ANC, and Comrade Mapaila at the helm of the Communist Party is a respected leader of that party and respected by the ANC. And in his characterization of the ANC, we need to be matured and respectful to each other without pulling punches, that the party may not agree with the GNU. And like I said, who won the GNU? We didn't struggle for GNU. You look at our strategy and tactics, we don't struggle for GNU. Our strategic objective is to remain in power forever. And the Comrade Mapaila, when we engaged the first meeting of talks about talks and consultations, the issue that he raised there was that, comrades, how do we safeguard political power? That's what is important. Now, we responded to that. What needs to be done? And we responded through a GNU. We had many options on the table, and other people then want to redefine and say that this is a grand coalition because one person from the DA said this is an agreement between the ANC and the DA when there is no such. We have signed agreements with 10 political parties. There were 11, and the other one withdrew and went back to the Progressive Alliance, so-called Progressive Alliance in Parliament. And we remained. And all political parties are happy and they are serving in the GNU. And that's what has actually happened. So because we have suffered a setback, we did not get outright majority. We then adopted the path of the government of national unity. What is government of national unity? It's a tactical intervention. It's not permanent. It can change at some point and become something else. But at the end of the day, we're not locking ourselves into a GNU permanently. That GNU will change over time. And that's what the ANC will be working on. So we will engage with Comrade Soli as it is expected, including the assertion that there is a faction of neoliberalism in the ANC led by the president. We'll engage with that. We're not afraid to engagement. We have always said and insisted that this is uncharted waters, and we have explained to our comrades that it's just like when the armed struggle was suspended. There are others who elevated the suspension of the armed struggle from a tactic to a strategic goal. And then we kept on saying, and the leadership of the ANC explained that the armed struggle can be switched on and off at any time because it's a tactic at your disposal. We had options, including to become a backbench party and opposition and rerunning of the elections. We have chosen to work for everybody. And why did we choose to work with everybody? It's for interest of South Africa. In our foundational principles of the statement of intent, overarching is the stability of the country. The South African Communist Party is leading an anti-bourgeoisie revolution to destroy a capitalist economy, and that is their burden. In the ANC, we advanced for a mixed economy. At best, we can say we are social democrats, but we are a party of revolutionary democrats. That's who we are. We are not socialism or capitalism, right? Our relationship with capital is unity and struggle of the opposite. They wanted us out. Capital. They sponsored political parties in this country. They formed them. They gave them money. But at the same time, we need them. We need them to create the very same jobs we are talking about. We need them to grow the economy. We need capital to grow the economy for the development of the country. Now, we understand perfectly that Communist Party does not even come close to that. But if we are to take examples from China, China itself had to change to something that is called socialist market economy because it is advancing towards socialism, but it could not advance without understanding that you are building towards socialism in a capitalist, globalized economy. Globalization is also about a capitalist mode of production. Things have become closer. You meet with your friends like now on Instagram and everything else. It has got its own advantages and disadvantages, all right? So the ANC in the mix of all of this, it's not a socialist party. It's a party of revolutionary democrats. That's what we are, with a Pan-Africanist outlook. That's who we are, all right? So you don't have a difficulty to understand where we stand and who we are ideologically as a party, the African National Congress. So you're not going to change the ANC overnight and take a burden of unleashing war on capital the same as the Communist Party will do. That's why the Communist Party is a vanguard party of the working class. And the ANC is a vanguard party of the liberation movement. When we talk about the movement, we talk about COSATU Communist Party and everybody else, led by the African National Congress through a program called the National Democratic Revolution, which has actually suffered a setback. So what we needed to do was to say, how do we then safeguard political power to advance the National Democratic Revolution? And that's what we're doing. So if you believe that GNU and the ANC being dominant in that GNU, not just dominant, leading it, it's a sellout position because the DA is party to it, then let's convince each other about what is the enemy, what is the opposition, what is the sellout position, and all of that. What have we done in a very short space of time? Because at least we are no longer talking about an experiment. We're talking about something that is happening right now. What has actually signaled to us that there is a sellout position? We will debate neoliberalism with Comrade Soli, and there is nothing wrong with that. But if Comrade Soli then goes and label us and say we're neoliberals and our president is leading a big faction, we will resist that. There is no faction in the ANC. The dominant idea that wins the day, it is out of a rigorous process of engagement. GNU was not imposed in the NEC, it was debated. Options were put on the table. It was informed by a strategic perspective, in first understanding what is the moment. And that is why we came to a conclusion that this moment is a moment of the ANC and its allies suffering a major setback. It's a setback. We are defeated in the elections, but we are not out. But equally, it's a signal that the West can come. So how do we turn a setback into victory in the long term? It can happen, it may not happen. We then went down. We analyzed the elections, the outcome. Now we are at the phase of implementing. We know what happened, who took our votes, what happened, and all of that, and what needs to be done to come back. We know. So if we do the things right, we keep the lights on, we do the right things and all of that, we know that that will rekindle social contract between government, in particular ANC-led government, with the people of South Africa.
Certainly, the comments by the SG of the ANC responding to what I've just said are not at the level that we are supposed to be engaged in a sense that I have characterized this in a political language, and I will respect that if you respond back, it should be in the same. The point is, nothing is untruthful about what I said. And he makes wrong assumptions and even conclusions. Firstly, on the concept of consultations, we were not consulted. And I think it's right, he says we're informed. So if we were informed, it's an ANC decision, it's not a collective decision. We rejected that position from the beginning. We had our own proposition to this, which there was no sufficient discussions in the framework of the alliance to engage this. Only the Secretariat of the Alliance. And even in that Secretariat of the Alliance, together with COSATU, we did not agree to this notion of government of national unity. And there was no SANCO in that particular meeting, like I said in the interview.